What I'm gonna say. I read that much. What do you think?
My phone. My life now. Hello. 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 How are you now? Hello. Hey. Can you hear? Yeah, I can hear you. How are you?
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. How are you now?
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. I can hear you. The network is just quite bad. Are you on your way home?
Yeah. Hello?
I can hear you. Are you on your way home?
Yeah, I'm still with the bus. The bus is not still here.
Okay.
So next week, I barely hear what you're saying.
Okay. Yeah, come online.
It's Young John, the kid producer. And everything I want, I'm on. You're done and look who come out. My medicine, my policy, come on. Baby, on God, good jealousy, come on. You know what, so, see my hand, then get done scatter. No, I wanna know your paro. See my eyes when I get done red. King. Only if you do
Guy,
Hmm?
okay, you know, say that almost 3 o'clock.
I know.
Okay, not really enter.
I don't really enter now. There's one.
You can make them say me. Take so. This is easy to talk. No, you don't
I don't
still
feel-
get.
When myself I use I'm not phone and use my phone.
I don't want to.
People don't they try and enter.
Hey, God.
Who be this one we in blood the hot now?
I beg.
One person.
Not more than 1 hour.
You know, I said I mean,
You're like, yes, now you did. No, you don't remember what I said to me. I should be tired.
you said too that.
We said, I don't need to talk.
Miracle, you enter. Go shuku wait first before I shook you. Miracle, I won't make you host.
Who's signing me out? Oh my God, no, now.
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to today's book review. My name is Akudo Chikwendo, and I am the Associate and Mobilization Officer for GLH, and I'll be your host for today.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rabaka. I'm a graduate student in engineering and a media student.
All right. Thank you guys for coming. Nice to meet you all. The book we're reviewing today is called Atomic Habits. And I don't want to assume that everybody has read it, but it's a very popular book, Atomic Habits. I mean, the name of the book goes with what we're going to talk about today, habits. Those are like the things that rule a human being. When you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing that you do? Do you check your phone? Do you meditate? Do you take mental notes of how your day is going to be? Okay. Or do you just lay in bed for 20 minutes or do you sleep back? When you actually think of those things, if you try to reminisce your day and you think back, how does your day actually go? Is it more productive? Is it less productive? Does it actually go the way you expect it to go? Or do we just end up lazing about and be like, I just did one thing today? But let's get into the book. In Atomic Habits, there are three fundamental things that the author, James Clear, talks about. He says, one, there's changing outcomes, changing the process, and changing identity. But here's the thing, we're going to take it bottom up because first of all, you have to be aware. Now, understanding that there's a habit that you have, first of all, has to come with awareness, self-awareness. So you have to understand that this is a habit that I have. You go from one point to the next point and then to the next point. You have to understand that this is a habit that I have. And you now analyze it. Is it a good habit or it's a bad habit? And then you now decide to either change it or improve on it. Now, let me give an example. I used to chew my nails, okay? And I realized that there were other people who didn't chew their nails and their nails would look really nice. And I decided that I wanted my nails to look like that. Now that's the identity. It's a changing identity. I realized that, okay, I do not want to continue chewing my nails, okay? And then what do I do about it? I visualize what I want to be. That is the becoming. Okay, you change your identity to become a certain way. It's just like people online who say you have to write down the type of person that you want to be. It's like making a vision board of who you want to be, what you want to do, and how you're going to do it. So we start with changing the identity, and that is with the beliefs. Then comes the system, which is the process of how you want to change that habit. Because when I decided that I wasn't going to chew my nails, the process now was that at every point, I'll remember that I want to be able to actually have a proper nail bed to fix my nails or to just make my nails look neat and beautiful. Okay, that was the process. That was me changing my beliefs. That was me having a why. Because you actually have to have a why before you decide that is something you want to change in your life. Then comes the process. After the process, then comes the outcome, which is the reward for having to change that behavior.
All right, guys. It's actually an amazing one by my colleague. So basically, the book, Atomic Habits, what it basically means is we are trying to give you concepts for building good habits and concepts for actually breaking bad habits. So the concept is, okay, these are steps for you to actually build good habits. And also these are steps for you to actually break bad habits, because there are definitely some habits in your life that you definitely want to do away with. And there's some habits that you actually want to inculcate. You get? So now we're actually the aim of this book is to actually give you steps to actually build these good habits and also to break those bad habits. And you see, there's something about this whole habit stuff that, you see, when you try to actually break some bad habits, the reason why it's actually difficult is not because of you, actually. It's not because you are lazy or something. It's basically because the system that you're actually using to break those habits is wrong. You see, and that's why there's a quote in the book that says, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your system. And now what are systems? Systems are the processes that you put in place to make sure that you achieve those desired results. So like I said, you do not rise to the level of your goal. So it is not like, it's not about you saying, I want to do this, I want to do that. It is you creating systems that can make you do that thing. I don't know if you are following. So like I said, systems are actually very important because the point is, goals are just a product of the results you want to achieve. But systems are the processes that make you achieve that goal. So it's not just about you planning, or it's just not about you wanting to do something. It's about you creating systems to make you achieve that particular thing. So whether it's in your business, it is in your personal life, you need to create systems, and it's those systems that help you develop those habits. So like I said, systems are premeditated processes that helps you develop a particular habit. So now, like I said, you may be actually finding it difficult to actually break a very bad habit. And there are actually two things that makes it difficult to break a bad habit. One of them is you are trying to stop the wrong thing. And the second is you are trying to stop that habit the wrong way. So the first one is you are trying to stop the wrong thing. And the second one is you are trying to stop that right thing, what you want to stop, that habit you want to stop, you are trying to stop it the wrong way. So now, let me give you an example. Let's say for the first one, which is you trying to stop the wrong thing. Let's say, for example, you're someone that actually wakes up very late. You wake up very late in the morning, and you want to break that habit of waking up very late in the morning. Do you know that the bad habit is not actually you? It's not actually you waking up late in the morning. The bad habit is actually you sleeping late in the night. So you don't break the habit of waking up late in the morning. You break the habit of sleeping late in the night. Because you know that definitely, if you sleep early, you wake up early. If you sleep late, you wake up late. That's how the body system functions. So you knowing the right habits to inculcate and you knowing the wrong habits to break is a very, very important factor. So like I said, you have to know the right habits you get to inculcate and know the wrong habits to break. So two things that make it difficult for people to break habits is them trying to solve the wrong problem. You are trying to break the wrong habits. And like I said, you're trying to, instead of you to break the habit of sleeping late, you're trying to break the habit of waking up early. Secondly, I said...
Miracle, if it's okay to just step in for a bit. Is that okay?
All right.
Okay, so once again, thanks. Well done, guys. Well done, team. I would probably just expect everyone to go to the chat section.
Recording in progress.
So go to the chat section and probably introduce themselves, because what we're also trying to build is a business and book club. So if you love to read books, we'll probably meet up every Friday. After a while, we'll become friends, right? Birds of feathers flock, birds of same feathers flock together. So the first request would be everyone to sort of introduce themselves so that we can be more relatable. Maybe you can share some of your case studies of habits. We all have one bad habit or the other, and we also have one great habit or the other. And I also think, in line with what Miracle said, creating a system is part of changing that habit. And one of that system you might need to create, matter of fact, the fundamental system is the right association, right? So for example, you drink heavy, right? While you think that the problem is drinking heavy, the problem might be you asking, why do I drink heavy? Miracle, I don't know if you remember the last masterclass we had when we talked about the root cause analysis, about asking why 5 times, that sometimes what we treat is symptoms. The habits are not even the habits, it's a symptom. Like you said, you wake up early, you wake up late might not be the habit, is that you sleep late. And the only way you can know that is if you ask, why do I wake up late? So you have a bad habit, supposedly, that is I wake up late. But when you ask the first why, you find out that the problem is not why do I wake up late, it's why do I sleep late? And even in that why do I sleep late, you can even ask another why. Why do I sleep late? And then you can find out that I sleep late because I probably eat late. If you eat late, your body probably takes time to digest food than you falling asleep. Or, oh, I don't read book, or I don't relax before I try to sleep. There are things you do that makes you sleep early. So I think, Miracle, I'll throw it back over to you. But one of the key variables is asking nested why. And I think everyone here should understand or just take a short course on root cause analysis. Root cause analysis is a topic under Six Sigma, Lean Six Sigma. If you have a PMP or a Prince 2, you probably have stumbled upon it under project management as well. It basically says, before you try to solve any problem, ask why 5 times, get the root cause and solve the root cause. Don't solve the problem, solve the root cause. So for example, you can be in an abusive relationship, right? That is not exactly a habit, that's an action, but the problem might not be an abusive relationship. The problem might be, why are you being abused? And then you can find out that the reason why you're being abused is that 2 of the parties are aggressive. So you want to ask, why are you aggressive? You realize that, oh, I'm aggressive maybe when I'm in a particular situation. For a lot of men, when they are broke, they are upset, right? For a lot of women, when they're in a particular phase, right? Maybe in a cycle, menstrual cycle. So you want to ask why? And one of those systems for doing that would be to be able to do a root cause analysis, then change your environment. Because once you change your environment, so for example, you might find out that, oh, okay, your spouse is in a particular way because of the circle he has. All it takes is just change that circle, right? And it just changes like the whole algorithm, right? So it's really about asking nested whys. Miracle and Akodo, over to you guys.
All right. Yeah. So thank you very much, Mr. Izu. Basically, you just said it all. It's about you asking nested why and asking yourself reasons why you are actually doing that particular thing, reasons why you find yourself into that particular habit. You get okay. So now, when you actually know the right habit to solve, now we establish the fact that you need to create systems, right? You need to, like for example, now if you're someone who's an alcoholic, you definitely know that you need to be conscious of your association. You need to know the kind of people you roll out with. If you have friends that are also alcohol addicts, you need to stay away from them. But now it is not about you actually saying those things. It's about you creating those systems. And creating systems is actually it's actually a complex stuff, but it's actually simple to execute. You get so, and it boils down to how much we can understand what we are going to share today. So I just want you guys to key in and enjoy every insight that will be shared, because it's really simple. And these things, when you actually apply them in your life, you get to see changes. And the concept of atomic habits is this: atom is is the smallest part of an element, right? So the concept of atomic habits is actually you doing minute actions to compound them into maximum results. Because let me tell you something: if you can be 1% better every day for 365 days, that's for a year, you will be 37 times better than how you were. So if I decide to be 1% better than I was today, than I am today, rather, in 1 year time from now, I'll be 37 times better than how I am. That is to tell you how just 1% done over time can compound to give you maximum results. So now,
just to add, what you said is deep, and I want us to share experiences. So there was a time in my life I used to battle with, anyone who knows that I'm a speaker, I'm a trainer, I train a lot. And people will always say in class, oh, do you write these things down? Do you write these things down? I mean, I spent maybe 5 years deep into corporate trainings, but I hadn't written a book, right? And every time I'd say, I want to write a book, it was kind of hard to write a book. Then I stumbled upon this concept of think end to end, but act bit by bit. And something that's been an ideology to me. Think end to end. I'm a big thinker. Now, the challenge with big thinkers is that they want to get everything at the same time. But I stumbled upon that, and I think someone should write this down. Think end to end, but act bit by bit. So I want to write a book that's end to end, but I started to think bit by bit. And you know what that meant? Every day I was going to write a page of the new book. And for a lot of people, rarely does any book have more than 365 pages. So what happened, right, was that in 1 year, I had written my first book. And it's good to know that I'm 14 years deep and I have at least 6 books I have written from this same concept of the system, think bit to bit. Now, that thing I did around the system was start to surround myself with people who write books and read books. My first book club was started in I think it was over 10 years ago, right? Parkview still runs, right? Parkview, yeah, and it still runs. So the system was think bit by bit. Second one was change my association. Then I had a friend then, I never forget this. And I told her then that what we're going to do is this. Every chapter, I'm going to write a book every day. I'm going to write a page every day. Now, any day I don't write a book, right? I'm going to give you $10, right? At that point, we're quite close. So she could know when I wrote the book or not. Because every time whether I wrote a page or not, because every time I write the page, I'm supposed to give her, she was good with scrutiny. She would scrutinize the book or the page. And so every time I don't, on a lighter note, babes are money. So every time I don't write that one page, she's going to like, where's my money? Here's my account number, right? But that was the system. I'm sure nobody wants to be dashing somebody money every day, right? So to cut long story short, I had to sit up. And that's a system, right? So that's the type of conversation that I think works. I couldn't over to you.
Yeah. All right. So basically, he has given an overview of actually building systems. But actually, this point he made about him giving somebody $10 to get for not writing a book is still a factor that would come into it, because there are actually 4 laws that we're actually going to describe for you to build good habits. But before we go into that part, I just want us to understand the fundamentals. Because all these things we have talked about, you building systems, you knowing the right habits to inculcate, and you knowing the wrong habits to break, are just the fundamentals that you need to understand so that before you start applying those laws to help you build those good habits. Because now, for you to actually even build or have a change of habits, there are actually 3 things you have to do, and Akudo has actually mentioned them. The first thing you need to do is you need to change your outcomes. You need to have an ideological change of your outcomes, in the sense that you need to know what you want to be. Okay, you can say something like, I used to be a smoker before, but now I don't want to be a smoker anymore. That is a goal, not to smoke again. So that is the end result, right? So now there are 3 things. You need to change your outcomes, you need to change your processes, and you need to change your identity. Now, changing your processes is about you developing systems. You get the systems we talk about, you putting stuff in place to make sure that you actually achieve that goal. But the most important of them, the deepest of them, is actually changing your identity. Now, identity is what you resonate with. Identity is what you call yourself to be. Identity is what you say, this is who I am, this is how I am, this is how I see myself. Because now, let me tell you something. Let me give you a scenario. Let's say there are 2 smokers, and I ask one of them, and I give one of them a cigarette to smoke, and one of them tells me, person A tells me, no, thank you, I am trying to quit. And person B tells me, no, I am not a smoker. They are 2 different things. Remember that both of them are actually trying to stop smoking. But person A said, no, I am trying to quit. But person B said, no, I am not a smoker. That is the concept of identity. Person A is still struggling with the fact that he's no longer a smoker. He's still accepting the fact that, yes, I still smoke, but I am still trying to stop. But person B, even though he's trying to stop, he's seeing himself as, no, I am not a smoker, I don't smoke. So now, the concept of identity is, you see that bad habit that you're trying to change, take it away. Instead, call yourself or resonate yourself with that good habit. If you are obese, if you are trying to lose weight, tell yourself, I am healthy. And because I am healthy, I am avoiding junk food. Because what I am trying to lose weight, and losing weight is what the outcome. So remember that I said there are 3 stages. There's the outcome, there's the processes, and there's the identity. But it starts with the identity first of all, because it's the concept of the mind. You see, systems are actually built around beliefs. And if we actually take this stuff seriously, it will help us a long way. Systems are actually built around beliefs. Okay, let me give you an example. In Hexavian, we have this belief that, we actually employ only first-class graduates. And it's based on the belief that first-class graduates are actually disciplined. You get, we have a system, we created a system of employing first-class graduates. But now that system is based on the identity, which is the belief that first-class graduates are disciplined. First-class graduates are people that you can actually, they can actually learn anything if they are given the opportunity, time, and resources. You get, so you see, all these things are ingrained. Even the system of democracy is built on the belief of freedom, on the belief of social equality. Did you get the point? So you see, all these things are ingrained. So you're trying to have a particular outcome. You need to set processes, but those processes need to have an identity which you resonate with. So you need to first believe that, yes, I am a new person, then create processes to become that new person, then you become that new person. So we have a strategy in Hexavian that we use. It's called the be-do-have. You already know what you want to be. But now, what are the processes, the things you need to do to become that which you want to be? And what are those things you need to have to become that which you want to be? Okay, so Mr. Izu has actually even talked about the Ishikawa diagram, which is the root cause analysis, but we'll not delve into that deeply so that we don't take much of our time. We've laid the fundamentals, so I'll just allow my partner to actually move on with the laws so that we actually share everything we're supposed to.
So there are 4 frameworks that James Clear has actually studied and pointed out each and explained each in deep revelations. And it has a lot to do with our human psychology and awareness. In the book Secrets of a Millionaire, it says that most people are driving a car and they are asleep on the wheel. They are not aware of their surroundings, which is why they say the grave is the richest place on earth, because we don't even get to use 10% of our brain. We don't really understand what's happening around us, which is why certain people keep being the high achievers and other people keep being the underachievers. Now, the first law says, make it obvious, which is the awareness point. Now, how do you make it obvious? You point out that it has to do with what you want to change. This is a habit. Like, I like to use examples. Let me use a personal example. I wanted to lose weight last year, but I couldn't get myself to get up on the bed. I couldn't get myself to actually wake up and go out and skip. In fact, skipping too was also something I didn't know how to do, and I had to teach myself to do that. Now, for losing weight, I had identified that I wanted to lose weight. I identified that there was a certain look I wanted to have for myself. And I had also identified that this would be the outcome. Every morning, I would wake up bloated. I would wake up with indigestion, and I did not like it. So I identified it, and then I made it obvious, which is now, I made it obvious. And I said, okay, this is what I want to do. How will I do it? I had a mirror in my room, and I noticed that when I wake up with my right foot, okay, which is me now placing systems. And the first thing I would do was look at that mirror and look at myself. I'll ask myself, is this how I want to look? Or is this, or do I, and I remember the picture that I had given myself, that this is what I want to do in the next 2 months. So every morning, instead of picking up my phone, because what I always do, it's like a rule, it's almost like the principle of compounding, but in this case, it's called a cue. It's like stacking a habit. So make it obvious, make it cue. And one habit leads to another. For instance, okay, let me finish the example I'm giving. So I would wake up and I would see the mirror and I would look at myself and I say, okay, no, my stomach is literally sitting on my lap and I do not want it to sit on my lap. So I would get my gym clothes and I would go outside and I would jog, I would skip, I would make sure that I would sweat for at least 10. I started with 10 minutes because I couldn't go long. Say with 10 minutes, which is another rule. Because if you start small, it gives you more momentum to start bigger. You go from 2 minutes to 10 minutes to 30 minutes to 1 hour. So I would use triggers. I would put things around me, which is now the system that I'm placing around me. And I would make sure that I get up at this particular time, which is also using technology, my phone. This is another system. I'll get up at this particular time, look at myself in the mirror and say to myself, I don't want to look like this in the next 2 months. And that was how that habit was conquered. Now, when it came to actually eating healthy, which is the hardest part in losing weight, I'm a junk person. I realized that when it has to do with junk, okay, I have no control over it. So what did I do? I would trick myself into thinking I was eating a burger or into thinking that I was eating something that felt like junk. And I also tricked myself into believing that every single thing that is processed food is bad for me. It's a genetically modified meal. That was how I tricked my brain into doing it. It's just like tricking your brain into listening to a course faster rather than the normal time. So I would trick myself. So it's the first law is called make it obvious. The second one, make it attractive. The third one, make it easy. The fourth one, satisfying. Now, when it comes to exercising, I made it obvious that this is what I wanted to do. Now, how did I make it attractive? I put a picture of how I wanted to look. And then I made it easy by giving myself a chance and actually making it fun. There was music. There were fun, colorful things for me to actually reach in and make a goal with. And then the satisfaction came, which is the reward, where I would now see that I'm actually losing weight and see that I'm becoming who I have identified myself with. I mean,
let me throw in a suggestion once again. I'm sorry for the distraction back and forth, but I guess it's all part of the program. We want people to pause and maybe share an experience. Let's make this very interactive. Typically, I think we're the only ones that have our videos on. Me, you, and Akudo, me, Miracle, and Akudo. I think I would suggest, if it's convenient for you, because we're not just trying to create a back and forth. We're trying to actually create a community, and we've got to know ourselves. I like people to share their experiences. And I think one of the systems is having a conversation, right? See, you can't make progress with bad habits, right? That's reducing your bad habits or eliminating them if you don't talk about them, right? And I stumbled upon a lot of facts that I thought was interesting to share, and I want you to share yours. So Dangote sleeps for 3 to 4 hours every day, right? And funny enough, a few weeks ago, I had a chance to be at a small circle event where he was there. And I remember someone bringing up that conversation that said, "Oh, you sleep 3 to 4 hours every day." And somebody says, "Oh, how healthy is it?" Right? And he says, "Yeah, how did you hear about it?" "You heard about it because I was trying to solve it." Right? Now, for a lot of people, I mean, because Dangote is a hero, it feels like he can do no wrong. But that's what he probably realized he had a sleeping problem. The truth about it is, sleeping 3 to 4 hours every day is not healthy, right? But the ability to talk about it is one of the first steps. And you are not ready to change that habit if you're not going to talk about it. And then have an accountability partner. And then have an association of other people who are either in that battle with you or have won that battle with you, right? So Keisha Cole, for example, right? And people have the nastiest habits. As a matter of fact, I think the wealthier you become, right, or the more successful you become, the side effect of your awesomeness is that you pick up very crazy habits. So Keisha Cole, if anyone that knows Keisha Cole, drinks her own pee, right, just to stay in shape. How does someone drink their own pee? Now, whether it's a myth or not, some people have got to that place where what they thought becomes their belief system. So maybe it works for her. She assumes I'm in shape because I drink my own pee. And she keeps drinking her own pee, right? Down to sleep for 3 to 4 hours. Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, drinks 8 cans of Coke every day. 8 cans of Coke every day, right? There had to be an intervention for that. The British footballer, Rooney, I'm sure we all know Rooney. Rooney is one of the most talented footballers, but he's also one of the most aggressive people. Now, Rooney for years, right, could only sleep with noise. If there's no noise, he can't sleep. I mean, that's a weird thing. People sleep when there's no noise. He sleeps only when there's noise. So you know what he did? He bought a hairdryer, right, to sleep. So for him to fall asleep, he has to turn on a hairdryer. Talk about weird habits. Now, Nicolas Cage has a bad spending habit. Once upon a time, he made over $200 million on a movie. He spent $100 million on that, right, in less than 1 month. What did he buy? He bought an octopus. Who buys an octopus? What do you need an octopus for? He bought 2 private islands. How many rooms can you even sleep in? And guess what? He went to a collector's item, a gallery, and he saw a dinosaur skull, and he bought it. In other words, he spent $100 million on an octopus, 2 private islands, and a dinosaur skull. Why I'm taking time explaining this is you probably don't have the worst habits, because sometimes guilt, right, is a weapon for defeat. When people make you feel guilty, like you're the worst, whatever it is you're going through, understand that people are worse at it, Matter of fact, I stumbled upon a fact. I was telling a friend of mine who smokes, and he beat himself so hard about smoking, you know. And I had to make him a list of people who smoke, who has gotten over it. Now, people don't even know the fact that over 40% of Nigerian presidents were smokers, including late Yar'Adua, including Shagari. History has it, including Fashola, right? No, so I was just telling him, so you know that you're not the only one in this journey, right? And it's important to know that you can get over this. A very famous Nigerian pastor, and I don't want to mention his name because this happened years ago, had a rape. It wasn't a rape issue. It wasn't a rape issue. That's a different case. A particular pastor who people respected. And if I want to give us a clue, it's probably not who you're thinking about. It's perhaps the biggest pastor to ever come out of Ibadan. And I saw how amazing what he did was. It wasn't a rape case. It was just an infidelity case. He came up publicly to declare that, look, I have messed up, guys. I'm your pastor. I know you guys respect me, but I've been having an affair. Call him weak, call him whatever it is. But the truth was that he was still battling that issue while he made that announcement. Because what that does, it puts you under intense pressure. But that intense pressure is the pressure you need to prove yourself and others that you genuinely want to change. So sometimes declaring and being self-aware that, look, guys, I have a problem and I'm solving this problem. You might be shocked that people will be willing to even help out. Matter of fact, when he made an announcement, I had a famous American pastor put the call across to him. I said, I'm coming to Nigeria, not for crusade. I just need to see you because 10 years ago, my whole brand would have fallen because of this same issue you're going through. I'm behind you, and became his support all through. As I speak, he's probably one of the greatest pastors that are alive. If you make a top 10 in Nigeria, right? But because he had the ability to say, guys, I need help. And then the right people came, which is part of the system, right? And I could have just, for clarity, maybe what we're calling systems are actually touch points of the system because it's just one system with different touch points. So for example, if I say my system is, I want to change a particular thing, right? So let me say, I want to be healthier. All of the touch points of being healthier, right? I must eat healthy. I must work out. I must sleep well. I must go for checkpoints. Now, all of those different things even have systems inside the systems. So once you have systems inside the system, you call that a touch point. So let me pause here and have you guys share your own experiences of your habits. And by the way, it doesn't always have to be bad habits because Atomic Habits as a book is about two things: how to break old habits and then how to old bad habits and how to sort of accelerate or enhance very good habits because we all have good habits as well, right? So does anybody want to share a good habit they have that they think is changed their life? That 20% habit that gives you 100%, 20% thing you do that gives you 80% of your results, right? A few years ago, I stumbled upon meditation and it changed my life. 10 minutes meditation is perhaps the most effective thing I do every single day. And then of recent, 4 years ago, I started my morning and evening walk. And for me, that is perhaps one of the most amazing things because at morning and evening walks, I get to take all my calls. I get to think and spend time alone with myself. I get to, in between my walk, pause, scribble things on my phone and keep my walk going. Because I'm also taking a walk, I stop by at different shops because I don't like gyms. I like open air. I stop by at different touch points of my routes, right? And I stop by and I take a bottle of water. At some point, I realized that by the time I've done 6 kilometers or 10,000 walks, I would have drank at least 4 to 5 bottles of water. And anybody that knows what hydration and dehydration is, it sort of helps, right? So what is your own great habits that you think we all can learn from? Or somebody you know that has a very great habit? Or the adverse effects, what is that bad habit you don't want people to have and how they broke it? Does anybody want to share? If you decide not to share, we'll just call your name randomly. Okay, Akudo, I guess you could take it from here. Or do you want to randomly call people to share?
No,
You can
I
actually
think
chat about
if you want to share anything here, you could actually raise up your hand. I don't want to call anybody out. Yes, yeah. Well, I know.
All right.
All right. So I think yeah, we've made quite some relevant points here that we need to actually use for the habit to get busy. Like we said, there are actually 4 laws. You get the first one is actually you making it obvious. The second one is making it attractive. The other one is making it easy, and the last is making it satisfying. Now you see, there are actually 4 habit loops, and these 4 laws actually revolve around them. And now these habit loops is the QCUE. That is okay. Let me for abbreviations is the 2 C's and the 2 R's. The 2 C's are QCUE. That's the first C. The second C is craving. So like I said, the first one is QCUE. The second one is Q actually means int. The second one is craving. So the first R is response, and the last R is reward. So you see, it's 2 C's and 2 R's. Now this habit loop actually means this is how you form habits. First of all, there must be a cue, and that cue is actually that problem. You see, that trigger, that hint that you get that makes you actually crave something. Now, let me give you an example. Akudo actually said she used to be a foodie or something. Like she loves taking junk, and she added unnecessary weight. I've been trying to help her. So one of the cues, the triggers that definitely, okay, like somebody that is trying to actually that is actually involved in a bad habit of eating junk. One of the triggers could be maybe whenever the person is going to work, there is one very, very nice spot where they bake donuts or they sell donuts. And as the person is passing or going to work or going to church or going to somewhere anyway, that aroma makes the person crave that junk. So you see, that particular place is a trigger. That's aroma from that bakery. It's actually a trigger. So that's the cue. Now, the second one is craving. Craving is actually as a result of that trigger. So now, because of the fact that you are perceiving that aroma, you start craving donuts, or you start craving junks or meat pie or whatever. And now the next thing is the solution. That is, what do you do about those cravings? And that's where the R's come in. That's the response. You decide, okay, let me go and buy these donuts, or let me buy this junk or whatever thing that you want to use to satisfy that craving. And the reward is, after you eat that junk, you feel satisfied. Yeah, you feel good. Okay, yes, now your craving has been satisfied and you feel good about yourself. But over time, what actually happens is you've created a system. And what is that system? That anytime you actually crave, anytime you actually perceive the aroma of junks, what do? You buy it. If you repeat it over a time, it becomes a habit. Anytime you pass that place, you must buy donuts. That is how habits are formed. You see, it first starts with a trigger, and then a reaction to that trigger, which is a craving. And then a reaction to that craving, which is you buying that thing, or a response, basically. And lastly, a reward. That is what you get after doing that thing. And these four loops, which is called the habit loops, is actually what these laws are actually built upon. The first law, like we said, is actually make it. Is somebody saying something? Okay. Okay, the first law, like we said, is actually make it obvious. So let me say you want to actually build a good habit. Remember that atomic habits is actually about you actually building good habits and breaking old habits. So for you breaking old habits, it's actually the opposite of you building good habits, right? So if you are saying make it obvious to create a good habit, the counterpart for it, which is breaking bad habits, will be make it invisible, right? The counterpart for breaking an old habit, when you are trying to make it attractive, it will be make it unattractive. Now, what does it mean to actually make it obvious? It means you intentionally setting triggers around you to actually do that particular thing that you want to do. That's that habit you want to cultivate. Set triggers around you. For example, now let's say you actually want to be a musician or a guitarist, basically. You can set the trigger that, okay, one of the triggers will be you can put your guitar, you can purchase a guitar, put it right in front of your bed. So that when you wake up in the morning, one of the first things you will see is your guitar, or put it in a place that is easily seen in your room. So that the more you see that guitar, you'll be triggered to want to play that guitar. I don't know if you get my point. So the point is make it obvious. Set triggers around you, things that will actually make you want to do that particular habit. So now, when you set those triggers, the next thing is actually make it attractive. What is make it attractive? Make it enjoyable. Make it something that it will be pleasing for you. I don't know, like, okay, now, Mr. Even gave the concept of associations, and this is where associations actually come in. You know, if you're in a place where that particular habit that you're doing is praised, is renowned, is looked upon joyfully, you would feel enthusiastic about doing that habit than a place where it is frowned upon. For example, now you want to build muscles, you want to gain weight, you start eating the gym. Do you know that when you are actually in a gym, because of the fact that there are like minds there, and you see people actually pushing the wheels, and they're actually carrying dumbbells, and they're actually sweating, and they're actually, in fact, you see the body goes. You see people that are enthusiastic about doing that thing that you want to achieve. You yourself too, you will find it attractive. Because you would also want to do it because you are saying that, I'm in a place where people are actually like minded. I'm in a place where people actually want to do these things that I want to do. So the point is, we tend to actually form habits in social groups. You get? So and now these social groups can be family, it can be tribe, it can be prestige. And in the sense that, you see, we try to look at habits that, let's say, okay, our parents carry. That's a family-related habit. You see your parents doing something over time, you just be like, it's a family thing, and you end up doing it. Or you see something that society does, that is like a tribe path, and you end up doing it because that's what society is doing. Or you see something that, let's say, somebody that you respect does, and you end up doing it because you respect that person. So these are mostly triggers that make us actually want to actually execute such habits. Because one of them, we've seen it around us, or that society, or somebody that we want to emulate is doing that. For example, now, you may want to emulate the habits of Bill Gates. You may want to emulate the habits of somebody that is renowned, somebody that is, okay, a great singer, like Beyonce. You may want to emulate the habits. And now, the point is, when you are actually in an association that actually praises that habit, you tend to do it more. So, for example, now you want to quit pornography, you know that definitely you cannot be in an association of bad boys, or people that, or players, you get, people that are into sexual immorality. I don't want to go into religion per se. But you need to mind your situation. You need to be in a place where that habit that you're trying to cultivate would be respected. Because if you're let's say, for example, now you are trying to break out of alcoholism, you need to break your association of friends that are drunkards. Because the point, when you are trying to break out of it, and you're trying to say, I'm not drinking, I'm not drinking again, I'm not nearing beer again, your friends will be like, what's this one trying to do? Is he trying to form? They'll look down on that particular habit. And it will reduce your energy, to reduce your enthusiasm to actually want to become that thing. So you need to surround yourself. You need to be in a place where the culture resonates with that habit. And for breaking a bad habit is the opposite. You need to make that habit unattractive. For example, you are still using the same concept of you trying to break out of alcohol. If you are amongst church people, you know it will be hard for you to want to drink beer anyhow, or it will be hard for you to want to humanize or something, because you are in a culture that doesn't applaud such. So intentionally set yourself in a place where that habit is either attractive, that's if you want to groom that habit, or unattractive, that's if you want to break that habit. So we can see the concept now. The first thing we said is actually making it obvious, that's setting triggers. The second thing is making it attractive, that is by association, and positioning yourself in a place where you can actually do that comfortably without judgment or unnecessary criticisms. So
let's
allow
go.
my okay, somebody wants to say
something. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me?
You can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so maybe let me give a scenario once again. And by the way, I think I couldn't pay attention to the comment section. Someone shared his own contribution. I think a few years ago, UK, right, London specifically held the Olympics. If anybody follows sport, I think the last of the last two Olympics was London's Olympic. But there was a problem. The average UK person was obese, and UK wanted to sort out obesity, right? And then it hit their spirit that it wasn't a good look. You're hosting Olympics and people are overweight. So what did the London Authority do? They created an interesting concept, right? And it was called gamification, right? Now, gamification in mathematics is something else, but gamification in this case was you want to get people to do something, right? Instead of you harassing them, right? Or threatening them, you make it exciting for them to change. So what did the UK Authority do? The UK Authority decided to, a lot of, if you've been to London, you know they're big on trains, right? So they do a lot of trains, they catch trains a lot. So they made sure that at major entrance, once again, the power of touch points, at major entrance to planes, right? They created landmarks, right? They created games at every major entrance into the train station. Games that had to do with you walking out. So maybe there's a skipping rope, maybe there's another thing where people have to bend under and walk, jumping, the kind of things that we do in a PE class, right? So the thing was simple. Your train ticket is, say, 20 pounds. But if you can do this thing for a sustained period of time, you can get it for £5, right? So different things. I mean, you walk into a place, they're telling you skip 100 to get in for free, right? And guess what? It was not even that people who were doing it, a lot of people lost weight around that period. But what was interesting, the lesson learned was that even some of the people that were doing those skipping just to save 20 pounds were actually wealthy people who 20 pounds wasn't a big deal for. But what was interesting for them was they just saw that everybody was having fun doing it. And the fear of missing out, they also did it to have fun. A few years ago, I played golf, right? And NLNG Bonny has one of the best golf courses, right? And I remember this one time I went to Bonny Island to play golf, and I noticed something. Now, everybody knows the average Nigerian doesn't respect time. We even have created a name for it, call it African time. So I mean, if an event is 6 o'clock, you shop at 7. Right? So what they did was, once again, gamification, right? Every single part of Bonny, from the bay, right, to the harbor, right? Because the only two ways to get into Bonny, you're either going through helicopters or you get in through a yacht, right? That the two touch points, the helipad point and then the harbor for the yacht point, right? What they did was they created taglines everywhere, right? And you know what the tagline was now? They realized that the average Bonny person spent a lot of time, that's the LNG workers, spent a lot of time doing unnecessary things. They talk too much, they gist too much, they stand too much. When they go to restaurants, they stay there, they eat, and they sit down there and they don't go back to work. Typical stuff. But they now put that every single touch point, right? They got people, they got signs that said, do you know what time it is? Everywhere, and Bonny is like the of mainland, right? And everywhere in Bonny, they wrote, do you know what time it is? Do you know what time it is? Do you know what time? If you walked into Bonny for the first time, when you see, do you know what time it is? You would have an intense sense of urgency because you're going to the restaurant to eat, and everyone in the restaurant, they're writing, do you know what time it is? Right? Another thing they did was they got what they had, what they called quality champions. And quality champions, and because sometimes let's not assume that atomic habits is just really about you breaking a habit or you forming a new habit. Or you keeping a habit. It's also you inspiring other people to have the right habit, right? Because 90% of the time, if you're already a high flyer, you CEO, chances that your bad habit has not gotten too much on the way, because as long as you're still productive in what you do, people can forgive you. I mean, I gave a practical example from Shagari to Yaradua to Fashola, people who smoke. People haven't criticized them because they assume that he hasn't gotten into the way of their success ladder. But you can be in that circle where you want to change somebody. So instead of you sounding like somebody's mother, right, or nagging, right, what you might want to do is make it a game and say, you know what, I notice you're battling with this issue. Every time, right, you don't sort this out. Every time you don't have this bad habit, I will give you something. So in Bonny, you go to eat and they tell you that, oh, if you finish eating, right, and you leave immediately, you get a reward. Maybe it's a snack for takeaway. But that helped, right? So it's really about, if you look at the London example, I look at the Bonny example, you see the same thing. They used two things. They used communications, right? Every single time, they wrote it down, right, at different entrances, right? And this is why it's really important that you want your team to have, a great habit, right? One of the things you do is maybe you put it on the wall, right? I mean, practically speaking, it's literally almost impossible for you to work in Xavier and not know our core values. It's just basically not impossible. I might just want to even do miracle on this, but a miracle, this might just be your way of getting query, shopping query before the weekend. What are core values in Hexavian?
Excellence, energy, and growth.
Yeah, excellence, energy, and growth. Now, you know why it's important? Yes, absolutely. It's so impossible for you to not know excellence, energy, and growth, because once you walk into Xavier's office, that's the first thing that greets you, right? As a matter of fact, some of my colleagues, when they join Zoom meetings, I think one of my colleagues is here with that. You see, he wrote his name as Xavier Limited, bracket, excellence. Put it in people's face long enough, remind people in a subtle way, but make it fun and exciting. Let them know that, oh, if you get this, you get this. If you don't get this, you get this, right? And it sort of helps you all along. Guys, over to you.
Sorry. Following with what Mr. Izu said, there are two strategies that James Clear actually gave in the book. He called one the temptation bundling strategy. And he said that what you have to do, he gave an example. There was this he was an electrical engineering student in Ireland. His name was Ronan Bryan, and he loved watching Netflix. And he also knew that he needed to exercise. So that's a want and a need. Now he combined these two with his electrical engineering knowledge, and he some way connected his Netflix, his television, to his electrical bicycle, and the Netflix would keep on playing depending on how fast he would go. So he combined two things together, two things that he liked. Combined two things together, one that he liked and one that he needed to do, which is a want and a need. So in some cases, when you cannot possibly possibly acquire a new habit without letting one go, you combine the two, which is why it's called a temptation bundling strategy. You combine two habits together that you want to, okay, for instance, you come back, you know that you need to make 2 sales calls a day to make a sale, but you also want to watch the sports channel. So you do this, you say, after making 2 sales calls, I will watch the sports channel. This one now has to do with time and behavior, okay? Which brings me to the second strategy. You say, I will study, which is the behavior, at 6 p.m., which is time, in my room, which is location. So the first strategy is temptation bundling strategy, where you combine two things that you like together. Okay, for instance, like a child, some kids don't really like eating their food, okay? And you say, if you take 3 spoons, I'll give you a sip of Capri Sun. So they know that they are going to get a reward, even though in some cases it might not be so good, because kids now, they get used to having the Capri Sun when they are eating. And in some cases, you have to now curb that. But to get them to eat the food, you have to put something that is attractive for them to actually do it. So we call one the temptation bonding strategy. And then the second one has to do with behavior, time, and location. You say, by this time, I should wash my laundry. I want to wash my laundry. Okay, this is what you want to do by a particular time and a particular place. I want to wash my laundry. That is the behavior. By 2 p.m., that is the time. The location, in the kitchen. Probably your washing machine is in the kitchen. So you set this and you can put it as a reminder, this is what I'm going to do. So it's like you're programming your mind. Also, yeah.
All right, so interesting one from Akudo. So let me just read out what one of us actually shared in the chat box. That's Michael. Okay, he said that he actually sets, okay, so I just read it. He said, one habit I've tried to cultivate recently is setting an alarm at specific intervals in the day to help cue me to take a break and get some extra curricular activity done. Okay, so you can say that the end point is extracurricular activity. What he wants to achieve, that's the extracurricular activity that he wants to do. Okay, but now what he sets as a trigger is actually the alarm. Now, see, that's the concept of cue. Make it obvious. The trigger is the alarm there. So, for example, now there's this book I read, 5 a.m. Club, and that's actually changed my life, and it made me actually wake up at 5 a.m. every day. So, because let me just diverse a little. The fact that I actually wake up by 5 a.m. every day, as in fact, it's so automatic that even at the point where I don't set my alarm, I still wake up by 5 o'clock. Like, I mean 5 on the dot, without alarm. Like, my body is so used to waking up by 5 o'clock that even without alarm or with alarm, okay, in fact, there are many times where I will just wake up and it's 4:59, and probably a few seconds to 5 o'clock, and my alarm will just ring. But I've already woken up. You see, that is what habit does. Like, at the point, you may be mechanical. Because I can remember during the first periods, I think, where I was trying to develop that habit, it was very, very hard. And in that book, it said something. If you want to build a habit, try it for 60 days. Straight for 60 days. If you can try it consecutively for 60 days without breaking, your body will adapt to it, and you will find yourself doing that thing which you want to do automatically. So now, Michael actually set a cue, which is alarm, for him to do some extracurricular activities. But Akuda has actually given us a wider scope, which is not just behavior, but adding a time and location. Now, you may actually want to, the end point is actually an extracurricular activity. But now, can you make it more specific? Can you say, okay, I am setting this alarm so that I can do this extracurricular activity, whatever it is, whether it's taking a walk or playing golf or doing something, any extracurricular activity you want to do at this particular time and at this particular place. So when you make it specific, it reduces it makes it easy, and it reduces the temptation for you to actually do something else. Because if your extracurricular activity is not specific, you may actually do something that actually doesn't even give you end product, and you may just term it extracurricular activity because at the end of the day, you just did something. Because you set your alarm, so you just have to do something. Okay, so when you make it specific, you add a time and location, it makes it easier for you to actually do that particular thing without having temptations to do something else. So now, we've not finished actually. We mentioned okay, our time is up. It's already 4 o'clock. So let's just quickly round up. But I would still suggest if anyone has contributions, please kindly chip it in. The remaining 2, we've talked about the cues, which is the triggers, the cravings, which is the
David, just
the reaction to those.
David, just hold on for a sec. It just hit my spirit. I think someone just DM'd to ask what the name of the combining two strategies together, right? One good and one seemingly not too good. What did you call it again, Akudo?
It's habit stacking.
What?
No. Temptation bundling strategy.
Yeah,
the
temptation
one that
bundling.
you want and the one that you need.
Yeah. The temptation bundling. You might want to type that out.
Strategy.
Someone's asking what it means, right? So you might want to type that out.
So you want to watch Netflix. And
no, just type out. Just type out.
Type it out. Okay, type it
right.
out. Okay.
Just type out the name. Right, and you could explain it again, but I just in line with that. It'd be great to see you explain it again, but I just want to give a practical example of your temptation bonding strategy, right? Because we have to look at the context of this book club and expand the context. It's not, when we talk about atomic habits, we're not talking about atomic habits in your life, or not just that. We're talking about atomic habits in your company, because it's a business and management club, right? And what are the atomic habits you can have in your company that if people have that habit, because so what you call habit as an individual is actually what you call culture, corporate culture in an organization, right? Because whether you like it or not, every organization has bad habits and good habits, right? I'll give a good example. You're flying an aero contractor, right? You know that they have a bad habit of delayed flights, right? Everybody knows that, right? It's not even, right? The same way the Nigerian police force, I'm sure you know the habits that they have, right? So about your temptation bonding, right? Let me give a practical example of what great corporates can do. And I'd like to introduce a concept, and it's called the concept of brand promises. So if you know that your company is badly with something, right? Let me say that's as an organization, you have a bad habit. As an organization, let me say you are a retail store and delivery is always delayed. Right? As an MD, what do you do to break that habit? Now, this is what you could do. Look, normally my delivery should take 20 minutes, but you guys are in the habit of delivering after 1 hour, right? 40 minutes late. We're going to do temptation bonding. We're going to say to every delivery that is less than 20 minutes, right? The people who are in charge of that delivery will get a percentage commission. But on the inverse, if delivery is 20 minutes, and for whatever reason you delay it past 30 minutes, right? That person that made an order, the customer is going to get his food for free. He will not pay. And in turn, right, you remove the money for that food from everybody who worked that day. You know what that does? Everybody's now forced to. The practical example is what Domino Pizza does, right? I don't know if they do it in Nigeria, but you go abroad, you find out the Domino Pizza, they put the counter. Every Domino Pizza has a screen that has your name and the time it takes for your pizza to be ready. But what we don't know is that the actual concept of that thing is they leave it there for 10 minutes. So you usually go to buy a pizza and it's supposed to take 12 minutes. They tell me 12 minutes, then they put it there for me to see. So you see, put it there for me to see is what we're talking about habits. Make it obvious. Then, if after 12 minutes my pizza is not ready, they're supposed to give me that pizza for free. I will walk away, right? Then in turn, the staff will pay because the company cannot lose money because staff were badly behaved, right? So that's the kind of concept you can have, right? And sometimes it's a different way. There's a company in America called Tom Shoes, right? Tom Shoes there's a luxury brand, so they sell expensive shoes. But Tom Shoes came back and created a concept that says, look, our shoes are expensive. We're very aware. We're not going to bring down our price because we're a luxury brand. I love luxury brands are like that. Louis Vuitton, for example, burns every collection. Now, every fashion runs on collection. So you have the autumn season collection, you have the fall season collection, you have the summer collection. Now, usually after a season collection, the next season, what happens is that they go on a what do you call it, a sale, so that they can sell off the remaining. Louis Vuitton will never sell off or do it. They will never do a discount or do a sale. It's just not the kind of thing they do. Actually, Louis Vuitton burns all of this product they did not sell instead of moving it to the next season or giving it out for free, right? But a Tom Shoes says, we're not like Louis Vuitton, but we'll not bring down our price. What we're going to do is this. Every time you buy a luxury shoe from us, we are going to give free shoe to somebody in Africa. I don't know why they keep using Africa as the poverty capital, but man, that's what we are. We're a dumping ground, right? But I'm sure it's not the same quality of Tom Shoes they give. But what that does, it helps you, right? I'll give a practical example. I've been battling something for months, and I feel like I stagger and I get it right, I stagger and I get it right. And what have I been battling? I've consciously been trying to be a vegetarian, but I still stagger every now and then. You know, I told my wife, I don't want meat, but we're Nigerians. You go for an event, there's chicken suya, there's pepper suya, so. But I realized something. There's a place close to our office where I go to eat. And sometimes, for some strange reason, they have this really nice goat meat, all these type of things. And once in a while, I will buy it out. But when I finish goat meat, the guilt hits me that you're not supposed to eat meat. You just ate goat meat because the goat meat was really nice. You know what I'll do? I'll park my car right where I went to eat, and I'll take a walk back to the office. And I'll tell one of my colleagues, please, can you go and help me bring my car? Now, what I've done is the same brand promise. If I don't do this, I will do this. So every time I eat what I should not eat, I will make up for it by compensating my own self, by taking a walk to burn down that, right? So I don't know if that sort of helps. We're open for you to share others as Akudo and Miracle starts to round up. If this is worth your time, you can go to chat section and give it props, right? I think that would help motivate the rest of my team. And by the way, well done, fantastic job to Akudo and Miracle. Amazing guys they've been on the team, and this is their initiative, and I'm basically just here to support. So Akudo and Miracle, you can begin to round up us.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, Mr. Jesus. So basically, just to round up, we talked about the attributes you get, how to develop these good habits and how to break those bad habits. Remember, the ways to break those habits is just the opposite of how to build those habits. So if you are trying to make it obvious, which is the first step, for you to break those habits, make it invisible. If you find the habit attractive, which you are trying to do, for you to break a bad habit, you need to make it unattractive. If you are trying to make it easy to build a good habit, then the opposite, which is trying to break a whole habit, a bad habit, will be making it difficult. So now, the making it easy just basically means you actually following the path of least resistance. You actually employing the least efforts, because there's a law of least effort that says we actually gravitate towards the option that requires the least amount of work. So if there is that habit you're trying to build, make it very easy to do. You get make it, and apart from that, sir, you actually need to actually do this thing repeatedly, because when you do it repeatedly, it becomes easy to do over time. Because it is not actually planning that actually brings results; it's actually practice that brings results. Practice actually does or gives better results than actually even the plans that you actually, because like we said, the goals are just the result of the systems that you put in process. You get the system that you set in place would help you achieve those goals. It's not even actually the goals or the plans that you make. So we've talked about making it easy. So if there's any habit you want to do, make sure you actually make it easy to actually get involved in that particular habit. So, for example, you setting those triggers makes it easy for you to actually do those things. For example, you want to learn how to play a particular instrument. You having let's say if it's a guitar, you having that guitar in front of you every morning makes it actually easy for you to actually take that guitar up and play. You get so setting those triggers actually makes that habit easier for you to form, and rewarding yourself at the end of the day actually helps you develop that habit. And if you want to break a bad habit, you punishing yourself at the end of the day makes you want to break that habit, because if you are accountable to someone, let's say just like how Mr. Izu gave an example that if he does something bad, he gives the girl $10 because he did that particular thing. So you actually being accountable to someone makes it either satisfying or unsatisfying. So for example, if you reward yourself probably after taking, let's say you go to the gym, you come back and tick on your checklist, okay, this one, I have achieved this day. You are satisfied that, yes, okay, I have burnt several amount of calories. So that satisfaction is actually what makes you want to actually continue that habit. Or you paying $10 for defaulting in a bad habit will make you want to stop that habit. So we get the general concept now. He said there are two things, which is the problems, which is the cue and the craving, and the two solutions, which is the response and the reward. So this loop actually makes you develop or break a particular habit. So that's the concept of atomic habits, guys. I would really want you to share your own insights, share and talk about them. But I think, Makoto, do you still want to say something?
Okay, I just have one more thing to say. I really hope I don't dive in too much into it, but this is for women actually. If you notice that you keep dating the same type of guys, this has to do with relationship. It has to do with a pattern. It becomes like a habit. These are the same type of guys. And your brain starts to take notes. That's how habits are formed. Okay, your brain takes notes that you have to wake up in the morning, you have to eat. Okay, it happens like that because it's something that you have done over and over again. Now, when it comes to relationships, I'm saying this because I experienced it myself and I had to become self-aware to understand that I would be in a relationship for maybe 3 months, and then that was it. It will end after 3 months, and it kept on happening. And I had to ask myself why. Which is why at the beginning I said there has to be a reason. There has to be a why. Okay, you have to have a reason for why you have to change. You want to change that habit, which is the awareness. So when it comes to relationships, you have to understand that there's a pattern that you're following. Probably there's a particular type of guy. If you look back, reminisce, and think, there's particular type of guys that you keep dating or having as friends or come close to you. Maybe they never ask you out. You just fall into a relationship, situationship now, which is what we call it, or an entanglement, right? And then you notice that, okay, these guys never have accountability. They're never intentional. And probably that one ends, and then you come again and you don't look out for those things. That's when it becomes a habit. That's when it's like we're piling up trauma and, the toxic behavior and that's why people say, oh, you need to go for therapy before you even get into a healthy relationship. And to be very honest, the hardest relationship is the healthy one that comes after the toxic one. So when it comes to habits here, first become self-aware and understand your why. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm not a relationship person, so I will just keep my peace.
On the lighter note, Akudo, we didn't know that part. Akudo, we didn't know that part. We not share this part in the office. Yeah, well done. And thanks for being vulnerable to make your point. I believe that you're a better person now, right?
Yes.
All right.
Guys, thank you very much, guys. It was really nice having you guys.
See you next week, Friday.
But before we go, I think please don't leave. It's important to explain what we're trying to build. And then if you're not a member of the Hexavian Business Club, right? I think it's important that you probably drop your phone number and email. My colleagues will contact you. It's a free but invite-only club. We have to send you an invite. It's a community of CEOs. We have over 2,000 people on the network, 2,000 MDs and CEOs. Behind the scene, what we're building is Africa's largest community of entrepreneurs and CEOs, right? Someday we can become our own Forbes, right? But for now, we keep building, supporting ourselves, and we realize that knowledge is a major part of the corporate growth process. You cannot be the smartest guy in your team. So if you had great value, next time you're coming, please bring your team members, bring your spouse. One person should not be ridiculously smarter than other people. And also, if you're interested in Hexavian, whether for consulting, whether for trainings, right, whether for startup or corporate restructuring, we're always available, right? So maybe I would just drop a contact on the group. If this was worth your time, please give a shout out to us on your social media page, right? So more people can join. We want to start creating bigger book clubs. And every once a month, we'll make this book club actually a physical hangout with barbecue, drinks, good network, good vibe, right? Right. So it's a virtual / physical. We're bringing back Decoded, which is Hangout for CEOs. So whether you want corporate restructuring, whether you want management consulting, right, or you just want you, right? So thank you once again. If anybody wants to turn on their mic to give a vote of thanks, just to encourage my colleagues, that would be great. They're using company time to do CSR, basically. And these are two amazing guys. Miracle is a first-class graduate of petroleum engineering. Funny enough, he went to my alma mater, Futo. And Akudo is a first-class graduate of political science. So, and I'm sure you heard them passively say that we only hire brilliant first-class people. And that's a habit for us as well, right? And that came from a place of pain at some point. Most CEOs are burning down, trying to give light, right? And sometimes that burning down is because you're hiring people from dysfunctional backgrounds who think that 40 out of 100 is pass mark, or that 60 out of 100 is excellent. You've got to hire the right people. So whether you also need recruitment, we're available for that. The name of the company is Hexavian, and we're signing out now. If anybody wants to say something, word of encouragement, feedback, that would be great. Okay. In the absence of that, thank you guys for coming. Don't forget to ensure that you're part of the network so you can know when we have all of this type of events. Again, we'll do this every Friday about the same time. God bless you guys, and have a great weekend.
Yeah, bye everyone again. Take care of yourself.
Bye. See you next week.